because we've had clients where, let's say we tell them, establish a secured credit card, open up a secured credit card, $200 start off, right? We don't want them to go over $20.
Right.
And we'll have clients say, $20?
Right.
Why would I want to?
Right.
What am I
building
doing with $20?
history, though.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that a lot of you need to understand. It's not about you leveraging the credit card. It's about you establishing good faith with the lenders, with the banks.
Yes.
If you have to use your credit card, and if you're starting with $200, understand that, hey, listen, if I have to go over that $20 mark, just pay the balance down before your statement closing date. Because we get it so much. I can't do nothing with $20.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
They can buy a couple packs of gum or something.
Right.
Chick-fil-A meals.
There you go.
But that's what the lenders want to identify. They want to identify, okay, whether you're a liability or an asset to them. So give yourself and give yourself some grace. Be patient with yourself and understand that it is a process. But if you give yourself about 2 to 3 months to establish good faith with the lenders and build up your profile, you'll be headed in the right direction.
To the Boomlennial Podcast, hosted by the dynamic duo cousins, Chee and Dee. This podcast celebrates the synergy between a millennial and a baby boomer, showcasing the fusion of generational leadership, insights, and real-life experiences.
We'll unveil strategies not to just survive, but thrive as leaders in an ever-evolving world. Let's ignite the transformation we inspire to see in ourselves, our teams, and our businesses. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Boomlennial Podcast, your go-to podcast for entrepreneurship and leadership insights. I'm Chee.
And I'm Dee. And today we will discuss building credit, building wealth, credit strategies with the Brown Asset Group. But before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the profound impact of Hurricanes Helene and Milton, which recently swept through the southeastern region of the United States. Our hearts and prayers go out to all the affected by the devastating storm.
Yes, the loss of life and property is truly heartbreaking, and we stand in solidarity with our communities as they navigate this challenging time. If you're watching today and you've been impacted, please know that you are not alone. There's a network of support available to you, starting with the American Red Cross.
Thank you, Chee. And so now let's get back to the show. Chee, would you like to introduce our special guest to our viewers today?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the great pleasure of meeting this power couple at a financial seminar that my church gave last month. They were excellent presenters, so much so the information that they gave, I just felt compelled to invite them to be on our podcast. It is with great pleasure that I introduce my fellow church members, Darius and Jocanna Brown, owners of the Brown Asset Group. Welcome to the show, you two.
Yay! Thank you all so much for having us.
Absolutely.
It is
so
truly
much.
our pleasure. Our pleasure, our pleasure. So,
can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the credit repair business?
Absolutely. I know you love to tell the story of the home, so I'm going to tell the story of the career. So my background story, I was in the property management industry for 14 years.
Okay.
And so as a community manager, I used to decline individuals daily because they didn't have substantial credit to get into an apartment. So while I had a passion for what I did, I wanted to be a part of the solution. So after denying them, my hands are tied. I can't really help them. Where do I send them?
right.
And so that's one of the reasons that I got into the space fully.
Gotcha.
Okay. But also life experiences with our first home buying experience. And I'll let Darius share that story.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we bought our first home and we didn't know anything about the power of credit and what credit can truly do for us and our family. we were just a young, naive couple just trying to get into home ownership.
Sure.
But we just didn't know.
Yeah.
So I always explain to people, when you're, especially first-time home buyers, you want to ensure that you're dealing with an honorable realtor and lender. And we didn't have that at the time. So we went through 5 different lenders before that 5th lender said, you know what, we're going to take a risk on this couple.
Wow.
We get into the home. I do my research, being analytical, and we found out that our neighbor was paying $900 less than what we were paying for the same exact house.
Wow. Oh my.
So just imagine.
Oh yes.
That's $11,000, close to $11,000 in addition to what we're paying.
Right.
Yes.
Not to mention we took an FHA loan. So our PMI was through the roof.
Yes.
But we started learning these things when we were already in the home.
Right.
Me and my wife sat down. We said, you know what? Let's have a transparent conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And let's go ahead and figure this thing out. So we ended up renting the home out.
Wow. Okay.
We moved to the city at the time where my wife was managing a property. And we said, you know what? We're going to get our credit right. We're going to educate ourselves. We're not going to make this mistake again.
Awesome.
Right.
And that's what we did. So pivoting into that, we start really becoming intrigued on the power of credit.
Right.
And when we found out that it helped us as far as us fixing our own credit, we say, you know what? Let's go help our family. Let's go help our friends. Let's go help our connections.
Wow.
Right.
And here we are today.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Awesome.
So what are your backgrounds as far as career prior to this experience? Well, I know you mentioned yours, Jocanna, but Darius, what were you doing?
Property management.
Property.
Yeah. So we were both in the property management industry.
Yeah. So I was in property management. The irony of us having unsubstantial credit, we were denying people for apartments, but we had bad credit.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah, it
does.
For sure.
But it was like a full circle moment.
Right.
Full circle
Yeah.
moment.
Right.
Yep.
But what I love that you guys did is you used that, like your empathy kicked in. You know, when you're saying, you know, I have to deny because that's my job.
Yep.
But something within your spirit didn't like that.
Yep.
And you know, our pastor often says sometimes what bothers you or gives you that means that's for you. That was your calling.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
And true story, you know, Darius is actually not only my business partner, but he's also my direct mentor in the industry. And so he used to constantly pour into me and always let me know that I was bigger than just sitting behind a desk, right? That I had a bigger impact. And so just him pouring into me, having that urge of, you know, there's something more that I can do to help these individuals. And so, yeah, we made it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, well, I'm going to even take it back further. How did you guys meet? So, because we need to get the backstory.
He loves to tell that story too, but
it's funny. It's funny. Like, I was doing podcasts before podcast was even a thing.
Really?
Yeah. So we had this show called Leaders of the New School. This was back in 2010.
Okay.
And before Instagram. So I started my own production company. It's called R20 Productions at the time.
Wow.
So I got into it, started meeting people. And I met this guy named DJ Tally. He's out in the Tennessee market. And me and him connected on a higher level.
Okay.
We started doing business together. And then in the interim of that, I met my wife today. I met her and she had a modeling agency.
Oh.
But rewind. Her close cousin, he actually introduced us.
Okay.
We went to high school together. So I played basketball. He played football. I don't know why to this day, why he introduced us. But he was like, listen, man, I want to introduce you to my cousin. I was like, okay, cool. At the time, I was in a relationship.
Okay.
She was in a relationship
Gotcha.
of 5 years.
I had just gotten out of a relationship of 5 years.
Right. So we, you know, connected. Found out she was doing modeling. I had the production company. So we start working together. Start shooting videos. Start doing things completely platonic.
Right.
Right. Thought she was beautiful, but I was like, listen, this is business.
Right.
But feelings start manifesting. So
you couldn't resist that smile.
He took that one shot, D. That one shot and something
shot.
came up in your spirit, lipped up, huh?
It came up through my shanana. And I was like, you know what? It's funny because we're actually about to approach 12 years together.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
On my birthday, actually, next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, so I didn't waste no time. Asked her to be my girlfriend. 4 months after we started dating, I asked her to be my wife.
Wow.
Here we are 12 years later.
12
That's
years later.
awesome.
So, yeah, that's how we met, from her cousin simply, hey, I want you to meet my cousin.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you first met him, Jocanna, what was your thought?
Oh boy, me and him go back and forth on this all the time.
We go back and forth like Aaliyah.
He's like, you were checking me out. I'm
Right.
like, okay, maybe.
Right.
But no, honestly, when I met him, he was playing basketball. He would play basketball with my cousin. And so, as he mentioned, I had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship. So the last thing I was thinking about was getting into another relationship.
Gotcha.
But again, we got together, we hit it off, we started hanging out. And there's just something. What do they say? When you know, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
When you know, you know. Okay. Because as he mentioned, 4 months later, he proposed, and there wasn't like a doubt in my mind when
Wow.
I responded yes. Now our
Awesome.
families were like, y'all are going a little too fast. But I knew what I wanted. He knew what he wanted. And so, again, here we are, as a family, we have 2 beautiful children together.
Wonderful.
And continuing to build.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That
But
is
I did think he
awesome.
was cute when I saw him. But that was as far as that went.
Yes. Well, you both are a beautiful couple.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
tell
Beautiful.
And it's inside and out,
Thank
know.
you.
But I love, of course, when you first meet somebody, you're seeing the exterior. But I love the way you carried yourself. And then I was checking you all out. I was sitting beside you at church and everything. I was like, let me see that spirit. And that's the children
Wow.
are beautiful. They really have a beautiful
Thank
family.
you.
Just absolutely adorable. But you're a beautiful couple.
Thank you
inside
so
and
much.
out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So on that being beautiful, can you walk us through the basics of personal credit? What are some key factors that contribute to a strong credit score?
So I always like to share understanding the data points, right? So many of us focus on just the credit score, right? But it's bigger than the credit score. It's your credit profile.
Right.
And when we have an understanding of your credit profile and what makes up that credit score, then you have a better understanding on gaining your buying power, right? So what do those 5 factors look like? What makes up your score? 35% being payment history, 30% being utilization, 15% being the length of history of credit, 10% being credit mix, another 10% being new inquiries. When you truly identify how your credit score is calculated, then you're able to properly leverage your credit and gain your buying power and keep it.
Wow.
Wow.
Let me ask something. I just want you to expound a little bit on utilization because when it comes to the credit cards, I think this is where a lot of us, I'm going to include, myself because I had to be educated on this, getting credit, understanding the utilization. Can you explain that, like how it can be used for good and what makes it bad?
Absolutely. So increasing the utilization, right? Again, 30% of how your credit score is factored is your utilization. So oftentimes, a lot of consumers are maxing out their credit cards. And by maxing it out, what it's doing is reporting negatively. So we have over 1.4 trillion consumers in credit card debt right now, solely because they don't know how to appropriately leverage their credit cards, right? So, just really understanding that maintaining your utilization low ultimately helps you increase your scores. So rule of thumb is maintaining your utilization below 30%. Because again, 30% is what makes up your score.
Right.
We, however, always encourage 10% and below because we understand that big chunk that makes up that score.
Right.
For sure.
Okay. So break that down. Let's just say $1,000. So someone got a credit card with a $1,000 limit. If they want to have that to help their credit in a positive effect, how much should they utilize on that card?
No more than $100.
Okay.
And if you so happen to go over that dollar amount, the 2 most important dates that you want to keep in mind is your due date and your statement closing date.
Okay.
So if your due date is on the 15th of every month, you want to say, all right, I've spent $200 on this credit card, but I know I'm over the recommended percentage of 10%. You want to pay at least half of that balance 3 days before your due date.
Okay.
And then the other half 3 days before your statement closing date. So when it reports, it's going to report to the bureaus as 2 consecutive payments within that same billing cycle. So if your closing date is on the 22nd, you didn't pay the balance, but then you use it right before the closing date. That balance is what's going to be reported to the bureaus.
That's
a gem.
That's good
no,
to
that's
know.
a
I
great
didn't even
gem.
know that.
See,
I always just try to pay it by the closing. Was it the closing date or the due? What the due date?
The due date.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
I try to just pay it off in full by the closing date. I didn't realize that I could get a double positive by paying it off.
So see, I learned that nugget as well.
I
love that.
And absolutely. And, as mentioned, the due date is very important, right? Because that's when you have to pay your minimum.
Correct.
Of course, we always encourage pay a little more. However, the statement closing date, that's very important because that's the date that they're going to report to the bureaus. So if you utilize your credit card, right, and that utilization is at 80%, by that statement date, that's what they're going to report to the bureaus.
That's beautiful. And see, the reason I appreciate you sharing that, because to me, many people either get paid twice a month, or sometimes people do get paid weekly. That means that they can make maybe another payment and they just weren't even aware how that can positively affect their credit report.
Absolutely.
Their credit score. So thank you for that
No
great
problem.
gem.
Yes. And I guess before we move to the next question, in terms of, I guess, the reporting of the credit by the bureaus, there's still 3, right?
Yes.
Is there one that outweighs the other? Is one more important, or do they all sort of act the same way?
Great question. So TransUnion is the main credit bureau hub, right? So majority of what's being reported is through TransUnion. And then TransUnion, they furnish out your information to Experian and Equifax. So it filters through TransUnion.
Okay. That's good to know.
Okay, so speaking of the 3, bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, what's the third one? And Experian. Isn't it true, as I thought the seminar I was at, when it comes to maybe disputing something wrong on your report, is it a disputable offense if Experian has something and TransUnion doesn't? Can you dispute because of that?
Absolutely, 100%. So there is consumer laws that protect us here as consumers, okay? The Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Fair Credit Reporting Act states that while we understand it may be our debt, right, it is still the responsibilities of the bureaus to ensure they are reporting accurate information. So again, if I owe Capital One $300 and Experian says I owe Capital One $300, Equifax says $300, but TransUnion says $299, that is an inaccuracy, and that is enough to challenge the bureaus to get it off of your credit report.
That's good.
Okay, because they are in violation of that Fair Credit Reporting Act.
You see?
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, so do you encourage people to go ahead and, because I know you get one free every year or something, right? If you write the credit bureau. So do you encourage people to get all 3 and just double check everything? Or?
Absolutely.
Well,
Great
how
question.
often? Shouldn't they be doing it more than yearly?
Yeah, you want to treat your credit profile like your adult report card. That's exactly what it is. So we encourage our clients, check it at least every 30 days.
Got it.
Right? And across the board with each bureau.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Yep. Now, and I'm enrolled in, like, my bank now allows me to, they give my credit score to me, and then it shows me from all 3 reports. So I'm noticing that there are a lot of banks that are doing that. And I had to say yes to receiving that. But I think that's important too, because it's a way that I get it, because I get it every 30 days.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Correct.
And that's great. That's really, really awesome. And we actually encourage our clients that, if their banks offer it, that's awesome. But if not, also get with a reputable credit monitoring company, right? Because there's so many benefits to that, right? They offer identity theft protection. Every 2 to 3 seconds, somebody is a victim of identity theft, right? So imagine working so hard on your credit, gaining your buying power only to go through identity theft.
Absolutely.
So, if your bank doesn't do it, there's great credit monitoring companies that offer this to be able to ensure that they're protecting you all around.
Can you name just maybe one that we can name for our listener that you guys sort of do like a lot of you would recommend to a lot of your clients? Credit monitoring?
Right. So our company, Brown Assets Group, we're partnered with Smart Credit.
Okay.
You have Identity IQ. And the reason why we partner with those particular companies is because of the identity theft protection piece.
Gotcha.
Yep.
There's so many consumers that are working so hard on their credit and their finances. And the worst thing we want to have for them to prevent from happening to those clients is for the identity to be stolen or compromised. For example, someone tried to take out a $350,000 home loan in my name.
Ooh.
I'll never forget, we were at my mother-in-law's birthday dinner, but I have the alert.
Sure.
I'm at the dinner table and I check. Verify. I had to verify it instantly. When I said, no, this is not, I didn't authorize this.
Right.
They froze everything, my credit reports, they investigated. But if I didn't have that protection, I would have never known.
Right. And then imagine if it went through all the things you have to go through, the hassle.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So that is
thank
awesome.
God for that, for sure.
Yeah. So it didn't make you raise your eyebrow and look around the table like, who is it here trying to get credit in my name?
Right. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like
he sprinted out of that kitchen so quick. I said, what is going on?
Yes, it's time. I gotta say, babe, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. So just doing my due diligence. And again, guess what? This service is at no additional cost to the client when they're leveraging the credit monitoring provider. So you're getting access to your 3-bureau report. You're able to implement a monthly budget. So we have a money manager tool where they're able to plug in their expenditures. So it's really bigger than just credit. It's showing and educating the client on the matters of personal finance and how to be able to break down those financial barriers.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
I love that.
It's like a one-stop shop.
One-stop shop.
And for someone with little or no credit history, what are the first steps they should take to start building their credit?
Absolutely. So one of the things we recommend is taking out a secured credit card, right? A secured credit card is designed, and we usually recommend, if they can't do it through their bank, Capital One is a good one because they're designed to help you establish positive history, right? So taking out a secured credit card and knowing how to properly leverage your secured credit card. So with the secured credit cards, they will require you to put a deposit. I know with Capital One, it's like minimum $200.
Okay.
Start with the minimum, $200. They'll then send you the credit card. Once you receive it, you'll receive it with those $200 that you put. And again, you're going to only utilize 10%. Because again, utilization is 30% of what makes up your credit.
Gotcha.
So you're going to utilize that. You're going to pay at the time. You're going to pay ahead of time. You're going to begin to establish that history. If you also, another way would be, and the quickest way would be being an authorized user on somebody's account. Okay. But be very mindful because with this one, there is advantages and disadvantages. If it's someone that you trust, they have great credit history, their utilizations are low, they have a great payment history, then ultimately they're gonna pass that positive history onto you. But if it's someone who's like, yeah, I got good credit score. What does your good credit score look like? I got about a 605. That's not good enough. Why do you have a 605? You pay your bills on time? Well, I was late last month. No, we don't want that. Somebody who has excellent credit who is going to be able to pass that on to you. And then essentially it's going to help you build up that score, build up that history as well.
I wanted to add to that, like, because we've had clients where, let's say we tell them, establish a secured credit card, open up a secured credit card, $200 start off, right? We don't want them to go over $20. Right. And we'll have clients say, $20?
Why would
I want to
I'm building history though.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that a lot of you need to understand. It's not about you leveraging the credit card. It's about you establishing good faith with the lenders, with the banks. If you have to use your credit card, and if you're starting with $200, understand that, hey, listen, if I have to go over that $20 mark, just pay the balance down before your statement closing date. Because we get it so much. I can't do nothing with $20.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, you can buy a couple packs of gum or something.
Right.
Chick-fil-A meals.
Right.
There you go.
But that's what the lenders want to identify. They want to identify, okay, whether you're a liability or an asset to them. So give yourself give yourself some grace. Be patient with yourself and understand that it is a process. But if you give yourself about 2 to 3 months to establish good faith with the lenders and build up your profile, you'll be headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And then oftentimes, is it true that you can actually call them and say, I'd like to up my limit now, and then based on your paying history, they can say yes or no.
That's a great. Yes. So typically that comes from unsecured credit card. Like with building up your credit with a secured credit card, we average about 6 months.
Okay.
About 6 months.
Yeah.
With unsecured, yes. Like if you have established good faith, you're paying your utilization down every single billing cycle. It's times like we have Navy Federal where they'll just up our credit limit.
Right.
They don't call. They're like, okay.
Right.
Ooh.
I'm with Navy Federal too. And I notice they do that. And I'm like,
yeah,
why are they doing that? But then I understand it helps me because it makes my utilization
go down.
Yep.
Right.
That's provided you don't go up. Now you have to have the right
Correct.
mindset.
Yes.
Right.
My
That
mindset
discipline.
is I still keep the mindset that, if let's just say I had $5,000, they said, you now have $8,000. I still tell myself I've got $5,000.
Right.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Yes, absolutely.
Spend it like you don't have it. Yeah. Thank God for my uncle. When I was younger, he used to always tell me that. Spend it like you don't have it. And what I mean by that is just because number one, credit cards are not the devil. Money is not the devil. Money has no personality. A credit card has no personality. So if I put a $100 bill right here in my credit card right here and I leave for a week and I come back, where's that credit card and that $100 going to be?
Still right there.
Still right there.
It's the person that lacks the financial literacy and the discipline.
Yes.
So once you consciously tell yourself, like, listen, I'm going to give myself 6 to 12 months to gain my buying power back, get my finances in order, and be disciplined, you'll be surprised like what you can do and the financial barriers you can break down.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I will tell you, one of my mentors told me to look at a credit card. You want to have integrity with your character, but you want to have integrity with your financing too. And that a credit score, it's like telling you the integrity of a person, because basically you're telling this vendor that they're agreeing to give you a service and you're agreeing that I'm going to pay for this service at the agreed upon date. And your paying history shows how well you are agreeing at keeping your word. So credit hits. So, I have a little song, the little song, nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Nothing from nothing
I
leaves
say, well, my thing is, don't think of being with me. You got to have a 700s credit score if you want to be with me.
That's amazing. That's
good. I know that's right.
Because it says a lot about an individual.
Yep.
It really does and everything. And so, I'm just at the age that I'm trying to do things, and it's going to be a challenge if I've got somebody that's got a 500 credit score. We're not equally yoked.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
And I think one of the misconceptions too is, a lot of people I know with a newer generation, they're like, oh, well, I got cash, I got stockpiles of cash or whatever that looks like. But they don't realize, kind of to your point, with the financial institutions, even leveraging that cash is best by having good credit.
Yep.
Because why sink $500,000, $1 million into a project when you can leverage, using somebody else's cash, but you got to go to the financial institution with the credit score and say, hey, give me the loan to do X, Y, Z.
That's so good.
So
that's
I just feel like there's this newfound wave of like, oh, I got a bunch of cash, so I don't need a credit score anymore.
Yeah. Well, now I am of the mindset of being debt free. I do believe in that, however, because I follow Dave Ramsey and I like the baby steps. However, but I do think again, as you still need credit because you just never know when something will happen. I believe you have to have savings, emergency fund and all of this. But you should still be well-rounded, meaning a good credit score too. Even if you don't need the credit, you do have the cash, That's great. I'm not against that. However, but you never know when you get this deal that's going to land in your hand. And you're going to need to maybe borrow until you get to pay it off. You need to have good credit.
Or a rainy day. Something may happen where you can't work and produce income to pay down those credit cards or whatever. And you may need to leverage your credit or financial position. And so if you don't have that credit score, to your point, that foundation, that often will get you tripped up when you actually need it.
Yep.
I always say this, even to my students, there's something versus good debt and bad debt. Good debt, bad debt. When you're creating some type of wealth for yourself and your family, you have to accumulate some form of debt to build wealth. If I go and I get $50,000 loan from, let's say, JP Morgan, and I take that and I don't have a game plan,
right?
And I go to Miami, or I go to Lenox Mall.
Right.
What am I doing? I'm accumulating bad debt.
Right.
Correct.
But if I'm leveraging OPM, other people's money, and I take that $50,000 and I dump it into some real estate.
Yep.
And I'll dump it into another vehicle that's now making money for me while I'm still focusing on my business.
Absolutely.
That's a form of good debt.
Absolutely.
And now, because even in my ebook, I talk about your money will always work harder than you.
Yep.
So the goal is, how can I create certain vehicles where my money is making money for me and I'm not even there in the physical?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Yes.
you want to income producing assets,
Absolutely.
IPAs. And so, yes, for the viewers, you need to establish first, get your mental right, right?
Mindset first.
Start understanding your relationship with money. And once you identify that and understand that we all have some type of financial trauma that we've dealt with, right? Once you identify that, you'll be headed in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned that about the financial trauma, because growing up, you know, my grandparents were business owners. They actually owned a liquor store. And so I'm from basically 2 generations of business owners. And I remember every week my grandmother, you know, would always give us money and then want to go shopping. So what I learned from that experience is how to be a consumer, right? And now people teach from what they know sometimes. But one of the things in my adult life is I had to renew my mind on the value of savings, because you will never grow wealthy if you do not save. Period. So we were in a position where, yes, we had the money. We didn't just shopping a lot, but I'm just saying it wasn't a big dollar. But because I'm little, like I remember I was in a 6X forever. But we would go shopping and have little fashion shows, you know, every weekend. But basically, I was taught how to get money and you go and spend. Wow. But I wasn't really taught as a young child how to save. And I remember, because I'm an accountant by degree, and so that's when I learned the value of you've got to save if you ever want to have something. So I was very intentional about teaching my son the value of saving, because I gave him $10 allowance, and I highly encouraged him to put $1 in church. You know, you pay your tithes, pay yourself next, put $1 for yourself, and then the $8, you can do whatever you want to do with it. You want to save more? That's great. You wanted to spend? That was good. But that's how I taught him. And believe it or not, when he was in middle school, I gave him a checkbook, because he used to write his lunch money. And the ladies would come, the lunchroom people say, we think it's so cute to see little Louis write his check for his, but because a lot of people, they don't even know how to write a check. Some of my friends didn't know how to write a check. So he actually taught his friends how to even write a check.
Powerful.
I love that.
That's so powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of, you know, I guess good things coming out of trauma, what are some red flags that can negatively impact your credit, and how do people manage or reverse those? So reversing those traumas, reversing those unlearned behaviors.
Well, oftentimes they don't even want to take a look at their credit profile. They don't even want to face what's on there to be able to get ahead.
That's good.
So, you know, again, as Darius mentioned, we got to shift that mindset, right? If there's a goal that you have set forth that you want to accomplish, the first step is to face it, right? Face it. look at what's on your credit profile, what's affecting you, and understand that everything has a solution.
Right.
Everything has a solution. So let's work towards that solution. So I think oftentimes people stay stuck or in the same situation because they won't take that first step of just facing it and then taking action, right? And, we conduct detailed credit analysis all the time where our clients are able to see what's on their credit profile, what's affecting them. And when they look and say, wait, I'm at a 560 credit score. That future score says 730. How do we get there? And we'll have a client that all they may need to do is pay off their credit card to receive over 100-point increase because they don't really have anything derogatory. It's just they're mismanaging their utilization.
Gotcha.
So when you are maybe in the process of wanting to purchase a home, right, and you need to be at above a 700, right, because we're not above a 700, right? Yeah. And you then take a look and you say, wait a minute. So all I got to do is pay. You're telling me I got to pay $821 on all these credit cards and I'm going to get a 125-point increase? That's exactly what I'm telling you. So don't be afraid to take action. Don't be afraid to look at where you stand, right, and understand that there's a solution.
I love that, Jocanna. And I want to ask you this. It's so good to be educated, but a lot of times I hear that people will pay the credit card off and then close it. So is that not a big mistake sometimes?
Oh, you can take that one. That one does something to my blood pressure when they close out their credit cards.
Well, first thing, don't be ashamed that you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't
know.
So
we're not here to condemn. We're not here, to chastise anyone. We're just simply here to provide the value and education. But the worst thing that you can do is take, let's say, for example, 5 years of history on a credit card account and say, you know what, unforeseen circumstances have happened. I'm going to go ahead and close this account out. Yep. No, because now you're stripping away that history. And we don't want to strip away that history because one of the data points is length of credit history, which is 15% of the overall makeup of your credit score.
Wow.
So let's come up with a game plan. Let's identify it. Let's create and implement that budget. And I be feeling like Dr. Phil sometimes. Because they'll open up because we don't consider ourselves salespeople. Right. We're here. We're in the industry to serve our community. Right. So we're having these type of conversations to say, listen, we were once on the other side of the fence as well.
Absolutely.
So we lead by our story.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. That lowers the person's resistance right there.
Correct.
Right.
Like we didn't always have it all together.
Right.
Right. So when we do that, now let's start educating.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. We can get to if you guys want to enroll in a second. I want to give you this education piece.
Right.
Right. So now that they say, okay, so don't close this account out. Absolutely not. Right. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with this game plan. We're going to give you a realistic roadmap that caters to your situation.
I love it.
Because your situation is different from my situation.
Correct.
Right. So I'm not going to give you the same roadmap, D, that I would give Chee.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the misconception where a lot of companies, they'll say, oh, I'm going to give this person the same roadmap.
Cookie
and now
cutter.
Everybody is thinking, oh, D got a 200-point increase from leveraging Brown Assets Group, but you've only received a 2-point increase.
Right.
Because I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Exactly.
These companies are giving you the same roadmap and not truly taking time to identify what their client truly needs.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And I love that you guys incorporate like the spending habits and the discipline and things like that, because I think you give somebody a roadmap. Yeah. Hey, go do this. Like you said, pay down your card. Okay, but how do you help the person to not go pay the card down and then go spend the money
somewhere
next
else?
Week?
Exactly.
The same money next week. And then they're in a cycle.
Right.
Right. And unless their income increase, or they get a windfall of cash, is no way that they're ever going to pay the card down.
Which is why America is in the state that it is, because what Jocanna said is, first of all, the mindset first. Whatever level you go mind first.
Right.
So if you don't have the mindset that, first of all, I'm going to have the discipline, like, first, I want to be out of debt. I want to, or I desire to have good credit. You've got to have that first, or if not, you will continue to, because we are creatures of habits. So you can have bad habits, or you can do things over time that then can be good habits. But you have to make the choice that no, if I'm going to take the time and come and to Brown Asset Group, I'm going to listen to them, and then I'm going to follow their instructions.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's it's funny that you and listen. We're gonna hold our community accountable, right? Just like you all are gonna hold us accountable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We can give you the roadmap until our face turns blue.
Right.
Do this.
Right.
Do this. Trust us, it's going to work. Where you'll say, you know what? I'll pay my credit card once you guys get the items removed off my credit. So we've had it where clients will say, I don't want to pay my credit card down. I want to see what you guys can do for us.
Right.
Like, wait a minute.
Right.
But if you pay this down, you're going to receive a 100-point increase in 15 days.
Yeah.
Right. My dispute is going to take 60 to 90 to get back.
So it's like rejecting the knowledge or challenging it rather than just listen to it and follow through. First of all, you came here for a reason.
Right.
So you recognize, and that's a good thing. You recognize I have a problem.
Right.
But what gets me is people recognize I have a problem, but then they think they have a solution. Well, if you got the solution, you would already do it. Right?
And I think, the reality of life is like, what else do we want for? Right? Like, it's so much things that we can consume. What do you really need? So kind of to your point, what else? Pay the car down, pay it off, or however, because it's nothing that you really need. A lot of the times your clients, I'm sure, they're wants. They're not needs.
Yep.
That's
right?
good. That's so good. Yes. Essentially, we always tell clients and anyone that follows us, like, your credit is not important until it is important. Like, you're not going to fix your credit until you were just denied for a home loan, or you're trying to buy a home, right? And,
a car,
yes,
or even an apartment,
or an apartment.
Exactly.
And they're like sense of urgency, and then they come to us or any other company wanting us to work magic overnight.
Right, exactly.
This is a legal process.
Yes.
So we set that expectation to say, this is not going to take 30 days. This may not even take 6 months.
Right.
But let's be honest. How long have you been walking around with bad credit?
That's right. Absolutely.
So we live in this microwave era where it's like, I want it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But are you getting in your own way?
Right.
Because if I give you the roadmap and you don't follow it, who's getting in their own way at that point?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think that probably what makes you also successful, I like the fact that you say you lead with your own story, because so many people I find will reject information because they're thinking, well, why are they going to tell me what to do? They probably got problems too. They don't know. And so people see your glory, but they don't know your story. And so I love that you're leading with that, because it does sort of disarm people. And because and I love that you take the point of view that we're not trying to condemn you, because we don't know what we don't know and everything. Now, when we're dealing with people, as a client, I'm dealing with someone coming to me wishing to buy a home. The very first thing that I do is I turn them over to a lender.
Right.
And I let them know, and I'm educating them to say, listen, because we need to know, first of all, because they come, I'm ready to buy a house. Maybe they just got this, they got income. And that's great, because you have to have income to buy a home. But they got a great income, but they don't know where they stand credit worth, or I don't know how much house they can afford. So we have to go to the lender so the lender can say that. And they say, well, I already know the neighborhood I want to be in. I'm like, that's great, but let's just make sure that that's the neighborhood that the lender will approve a loan for you to be in.
That's so good.
So I try to, to educate like that, because it's all starting with the finances.
Yep.
And then I tell them, if the lender, even if they say, no, you're not ready, a no today doesn't mean a no forever.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So then we can get with a company like you and get them ready.
Right.
Now, what would you say if somebody does have a credit score, let's just say a 520, if they did all the things that you guys, the roadmap you give them, would they be looking at probably being in a position to get something within 8 to 12 months or so, or 18 months? What do you think? I know everybody's different, but I'm just, if I had to give a range.
That's a good range. And again, to your point, delay does not mean denied. So absolutely. And that is the importance of conducting that detailed credit analysis, because it allows us to set those realistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be able to identify, hey, listen, do you have a couple of late payments? Do you have 1 collection, 3 collection, 5? Do you have a bankruptcy? All of these things do make a difference. So this is why we always encourage our clients, listen, when you're coming to Brown Assets Group, make sure you're giving yourself enough time, because again, this is not an overnight process. This is a legal process. It does take time. But one thing we can assure you, that if you have grace with yourself, if you trust the process, you will be in that home.
I love
and
it.
transparency, because you guys need to know these things so that you can help people, because I'm sure you get folks who you learn that maybe their credit or they have some other asset or financial situation over here as you're trying to repair something else. So I would say transparency is probably key.
We got to start with transparency because, again, if we come in, if you come in with the expectation of saying to yourself, like, this company can help me overnight, and we're not being ethical, we're not leading with integrity, I would rather tell you this is how long it's going to take based off if you have a bankruptcy, if you have charge-off accounts. I would rather tell you it's going to take 8 to 12 months. And then the first question I would ask them, are you willing to give yourself that time frame?
Right.
And if you're not, then we may not be the company for you. Because we don't want you to come in and then now every week you're saying, we have results. So what we have done is we've implemented a personalized client portal for our clients.
Wonderful.
Where they're able to track the entire process.
Oh, that's great.
And we're giving them education tips during the interim of the process. Hey, listen, by the way, to help you get to that score faster, do X, Y, and Z. So we're giving them the education while our team is working on the back end to get these derogatory remarks removed. Because, of course, the sooner the better. If we can get these items off your credit report within the first 3 to 6 months, awesome. Let's send you back to your realtor and your lenders, and let's get you to the closing table.
And when they do send them back to us, I will tell you, there will still be a home out there. Okay. There's always homes. So a lot of times people say, but I want that house. I just want to tell you, don't fall in love with the home. Fall in love with the numbers, because what you don't want to do is to be in a house and then you're house poor. You got the house, but you can't afford, furniture, can't afford to go out to eat anymore, so you don't want that.
We can relate.
The numbers. Men lie, women lie. The numbers never
don't
lie.
Right. And I agree. And on the business side, on the commercial side, the numbers do not lie. So I never want to put you in a commercial space that you can't afford to lease. Because the worst thing I want to happen is you come back to me a year from now saying this lease is so expensive. My business didn't turn the profit because my numbers didn't work.
Wow. Now, speaking of business, I wanted to ask you all, how important is it to have a strong relationship with lenders when building business credit? And what's the best way to foster that relationship?
That's a great question. So essentially, when you are wanting to establish a profound relationship with lenders, you want to show your face. Go inside of your bank, right? Establish that relationship with them. Let them know exactly what industry you're in, what your goals are. I'm big on ensuring that our clients have a business plan, right? Showing exactly what their goals are, whether it's in the next 3-6 months. And fostering that relationship not only helps you, but most importantly, it helps your business.
Absolutely.
Because now the lenders are like, wait a minute. They've established good faith. I'm willing to, you know what? You need a $250,000 loan? Here you go. You need a $100,000 loan? Here you go. But it starts with making sure your personal credit is in order, because the lenders will revert to your personal credit.
That's right.
Right? They just want to determine, is this person an asset?
Yes.
Are they responsible enough to pay this loan back? Build that business credit, because with business credit, oh my gosh, we have so many of our clients, as well as even our mentees, that have leveraged our mentorship program, where they went out there and got up to $2 million in capital simply by following the roadmap and going into the marketplace and establishing those profound relationships.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
And when you're talking about building business credit, can you share with our viewers, what is the step in the vehicle? Because that's a Dun & Bradstreet number or something.
Right. So first things first, you want to ensure that your business is registered through your respective state.
Mm-hmm.
You want to establish a business account, so a business bank account. You want to get that DMB number, and then you want to start setting up your vendor account. So, for example, like with Brown Assets Group, we have an account with Granger, right? We have an account with Uline. So let's say if we're doing home improvement around the house, or let's say if we just need something pertaining our business, we are now set up on an invoice account where we can buy the product, right? They'll ship it to us within 1 to 2 business days, and we have 30 days to pay that balance back. And every time that we pay it back on time, it reports to the credit agencies on the business side.
Yes.
So doing that, and by the way, when you're building business credit, it's much faster than building personal credit.
Really?
Much faster.
Okay.
You can start establishing business credit within the first 45 days.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. That's awesome. Okay.
And what would you say to future business owners that want to leverage? I know a lot of people will get a credit card for their business, or they'll do other things as well. What is your advice on that?
Yes. So you definitely want to open up a business credit card, right? So whether it's Amex has a lot of great features where you can start. And this is the beautiful thing about it. If everything goes, you don't want to commingle your never commingle.
Don't commingle.
Personal is personal, business is business. I have to emphasize on that.
Yes.
Big emphasize. And that's for tax purposes, right? When it's time to file your taxes and your CPA, your accountant is looking and saying, wait a minute, you were using your business account to buy this is not beneficial to your business.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So you want to be extremely careful because the IRS will audit you.
Yes, they will.
So you have to do things in decency and order. That's number one. But to answer your question, when you are leveraging your business credit card, you're establishing reward points. So we run a lot of social media ads. We use our Amex card, right? For every dollar that you spend, you get 4 points back for every dollar that you spend. So our reward points are paying towards our ad spend.
Gotcha.
Right? It's just like traveling. We travel for free, right? We get hotels for free. So if you leverage your reward points properly and accordingly and responsibly, you don't have to come out of pocket. You're literally leveraging the bank's money by leveraging your reward points. As long as you're paying that balance back on that credit card every single billing cycle, Amex is going to be like, you know what? When it's time, when you're ready to get a loan, guess what? We don't mind giving it to you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
Well, can you share a success story? I know you just talked about one person had gotten they followed your plan and then they were in position to get a $2 million loan.
Yes. Yeah. So I won't disclose his name, but he's from Nigeria.
Okay.
He's in the logistics industry and he's here in Atlanta actually. Okay. And we connected through a commercial lender that I met at a networking event. Okay. Brandon, by the way, shout out to Brandon. And Brandon stated that, man, I have this client. He can use you all services. We identified his credit wasn't too bad, but he was a victim of identity theft. So we had to clean that up. We start rebuilding his personal credit. And I said, what are your goals? We had a probably 45-minute conversation, just identifying his goals. Exactly. So now we know exactly how we can serve him best. Yeah. Awesome. I said, okay, are you willing, based off of you being a victim of identity theft, we have to clean this up. Wow. Are you willing to give this about 12 to 14 months? So we can get you the maximum funding because his ultimate goal was to get capital for his business. Okay. Right? He was making about $300,000 a month.
A month?
Yeah, but here's the thing. It wasn't net profit.
Gotcha. Right.
Because in the logistics industry, especially, he's dishing out more money. So he's like, listen, in order for me to scale higher, I need to use the bank's money. Right. So we got him where he needed to be. And we got a phone call. I was like, all right, let me reach out to my team. Let's see. He said, man, listen, I want the max. We got him to about a 750 credit score. Boom. We start building up his business credit in the interim, and we were able to get him that $2 million loan.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah. That's a great success story.
Yeah.
So, I guess what's some advice for folks that maybe have made some past mistakes with their credit? So, they may have established credit, but they've made some mistakes. What are some advice that you give to those folks that need to turn that around now?
That have made mistakes with their credit. Again, listen, everything can be fixed. So just identifying what needs to be worked on, giving yourself some grace, and just knowing that whatever goals you've set for yourself, right? You can make it happen as long as you take action, right? You're not going to be able to get to where you would like to get if you don't take action. So, even with just watching this, taking the nuggets that have been shared on today's podcast to apply it, right? Understanding those 5 data points, 35% being payment history. So taking that now and saying, you know what, moving forward, I'm going to do all my best to ensure that I'm paying all my bills on time. All right. What's the next? 30% utilization. Okay. I got to work on this card. Let me start working on bringing down the utilization to this, so on and so forth. Right. But I'm a very big believer that if we don't face what we're going through, gotta shout out our church real quick.
Yeah.
If you can't name it if you don't tame it, right? So identifying it and going to work.
Yep.
Is what I would.
I love it.
And another thing, so we're the type of company where we're explaining to our client, we don't want to see you after you graduate our program.
We don't.
We don't want you coming back because you're oblivious. Yeah. You're still oblivious to this credit thing. We want you to soar.
Absolutely.
And we want you to go into your community and educate your family,
there
educate
you
your
go.
connection.
I love
because
it.
we've had clients where they're like, I'm embarrassed. Why are you embarrassed? I messed my credit up again. And we felt like we failed them.
Gotcha.
But we were like, listen, this is why it's extremely important that you're intentional, that you follow our roadmap. Right? You come back again, we may not take you.
Okay.
Seriously.
Because they haven't adopted the right mindset.
Right.
They don't really want to change.
Right.
Yep. And that's why we say we don't only fix credit, we educate and we change lives, right? Because we want to educate you along the process, right? As he mentioned, we love our clients, but we don't want to see you guys back. We want you guys to soar.
We want to see you back for that additional move that you want to make.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
We don't want to see you back for the repeat.
Right.
That makes sense.
Let's take you to that next level.
And speaking of clients, so if some of our viewers out there are, think like, wow, I'm ready to make that leap. I that's something I want to get. I'm thinking about a house or a new car or a business. And maybe I want to join the Brown Asset Group. How can they contact you?
They can go to our website. It's www.bag for Brown Assets Group creditpros with an S at the end.com. So again, www.bagcreditpros.com.
Nice.
And Kenny will have it on the lower third when this actually comes up. Okay.
Awesome.
And everything.
So, Chee, do you know what sound that means? It's time for our ATL segment. Ask the leaders. All right. So I am going to let you guys open our profit box.
So this is our profit box here. And because we go in business to do what?
Make profit.
Yes.
That's right. And I'll read it to you all, and hopefully you'll have an answer. I know you will.
But this is where our viewers get to engage with us. So this is one of our viewers has actually emailed us and sent us their question. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So this question comes from Barbara in Griffin, Georgia. Okay. Dear Chee and Dee, I really love your show and look forward to hearing your responses to the ATL questions. Thank you, Barbara. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes. I graduated from college 3 years ago, and I believe I have enough income to look into buying my first home. But hearing all the bad stories about credit card debt, I never used a credit card. I guess she just never uses one. So my question today is, what resources or tools does the Brown Asset Group offer to help people get started on building their personal credit? I'll let you guys take that.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara, for that question. First thing you want to do is schedule a detailed credit analysis, whether it's with Brown Assets Group or any other company. I do highly encourage that you do your due diligence as researching a company that has your best intentions at heart. Okay. Once you have done that, schedule that call with them and let them know exactly what your goals are, what you're looking to accomplish. If it is home ownership and you haven't established credit, you want that company to first see exactly what's on your credit report, right? If you have any derogatory items on your credit report, helping that company needs to help you set up a game plan and a roadmap, right, to helping you reach your credit score goal. Establishing positive history. Credit cards, leveraging them properly can work in your favor, okay? It's just about understanding exactly how to leverage them. And once you do that, you'll be headed in the right direction. So give yourself grace, educate yourself, and get with a company that can help you reach those goals.
I love that. And then you also had mentioned that you guys have an ebook out. How can any of our viewers or listeners actually obtain copies of the ebook?
Yeah, so this ebook took a lot of sacrifice, late nights, early mornings for us. And we released this ebook 3 years ago on our daughter's birthday, Nevaeh, August 24th of 2021.
Okay.
We created this. We were being obedient. It was like God kept nudging me because I actually, thanks to my wife, she told me it was time because I was delaying it.
Of course.
I was just delaying it because I was like, I don't feel like I'm ready to put out this information. I feel like there's still more that I need to experience to ensure that I give the marketplace the right information. So we're intentional. We don't tell, not to derail too off topic, we never educate through something we heard or saw online. Majority of our expertise is through real life experiences.
Gotcha.
Right. So I wanted to ensure that we had all of our ducks in a row, and it's helped a lot of people. You can find the ebook on Amazon. It's called Unlock the Code to Financial Freedom. And it's a lot of gems. For $20, you can truly 10x your life in a massive way if you just follow the roadmap.
So Unlock the Code to Financial Freedom by...
It's going to be by D Brown.
Okay.
So,
D Brown.
D Brown. You'll see me. You'll see this light-skinned face right on the cover. But yeah, so D Brown. And all I ask, you can download it on Kindle as well. And all I ask is that you push it forward. You pay it forward, right? So when you learn this information inside of the ebook, you share it with at least 5 people. Just 5 people. If we continue to exercise, group economics and I don't like gatekeepers.
We don't gatekeep.
We don't gatekeep. We're here to provide the information. So when you learn something and you implement it and it works for you, go share it with someone else.
I love that. And a lot of people, let's just say in our community, we have a lot of family reunions, right? So in my family, when we have our reunions, we've actually implemented some type of educational piece. I remember one year we had how to respond when a police officer, if you're a Black male, stops you, So this is something you can implement. You get that ebook and implement the value of credit. Let's have a family that's going to be committed to, having great credit. And maybe you can start an investment group or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but thank you for that. I love that.
Last thing, if you have children, start with them first.
Oh, yes.
Start with your children, educate them as you're educating yourself, and make it fun. There's tons of even like board games, like financial literacy board games, whether it's family night, whether it's reading the ebook and you guys just sitting together at the table and building those memories, but ensuring that you are positioning your lineage to a better tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that because it brought me to one other story I have to share with my son. I have one son. So when he was little, you know how all the kids were into these Jordans, right? Or whatnot. And so I never denied him anything. I just said, because he's like, Mom, these Jordans are out and I want to get them. And I said, okay, well, let's just sit down and do the budget. And I tell you what, if we've got the money, you're going to get a pair and I'm going to get it too. So we sat down, but I actually let him see me paying things, right? Now I already knew I ain't have enough money left over to go and get some Jordans. But so I showed him I paying the light bill and paying my credit. And we got down to it and it said -$2, right? And he said, Mom, what does that mean? And I said, well, that means I'm actually $2 short. And you know what he did? He looked at me and he says, Well, I have it in my piggy bank. I'll give you the $2 and we don't have to get the Jordans this week.
Wow.
So I never had to really deny him, just showed him. Now he ended up getting them, like when he got his Christmas money, we put things together. Right. So he got them, but that's how I got him out of not being in my face all the time. Wow. I showed him our budget.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I love that.
That's powerful.
Yep.
That's powerful. And I think even with I have small kids like you all, and so just incentivizing them, using money as a tool. And I know, like, we talked about those generational things, just trying to reprogram ourselves and not like we have open conversations about money, right? Where I didn't grow up doing that at all. Like it was a non-topic, or it was more of the negative, what I don't have versus what I do have.
Right.
And so I think we are trying to do those kind of things with our children now. Yes. So that we, like to your point, start those habits from the beginning.
That's good. And please implement the value of saving.
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, those I know people are like, oh, put all the money in the bank, but we still have traditional piggy banks.
Right.
Both of my girls still have a piggy bank in their room. And we still, my oldest one, we actually poured all the stuff out of the piggy bank so she could see what was in there physically, so she could have an idea of, $1 versus multiple dollars or coins or whatever. So just starting to establish those habits and conversations, I think is very important, because my husband and I, we are like completely reprogramming ourselves as adults. And like you said, your parents and your family, they teach from what they know.
Exactly.
So it's no slight to them.
Oh, exactly.
But we want to do better because they put us in a position.
Yes,
absolutely.
Can I ask you all a question?
Yes.
You don't mind? I know we're on y'all show, but I want to ask. I think this can be helpful for the viewers. Why do you all feel like when we're around family and we're talking about topics like this, it gets uncomfortable? Like, let's talk about financial literacy or the power of credit. Why do you all feel like it's an uncomfortable topic?
Yeah, I know. I'll speak for me. Sometimes it because we're in a different financial situation than some other people in our family, it becomes uncomfortable because sometimes the conversation will veer into the haves and the have-nots.
Right.
And then it becomes, well, what can you do for me? And what I always tell people is that I can't pour from a cup that's empty, and I can't bless you with something. In reverse, if I call you and ask you to pay my bills, you can't pay my bills at all.
Right.
So if I'm constantly pouring over and giving and loaning and this, that, and the third, I think it becomes where now I'm uncomfortable with this particular family member or in this situation, because now you think I'm in a better financial position. And so it's, what do they call it? The black tax.
The black tax.
So if it's like, well, okay. And so I always tell folks, okay, if I give you $100 and I call you and ask you for $500, you may not be able to do that for me. So the way we operate is I never give somebody anything, even if it's a loan that I need back. Right. Because if I need it, I can't give you from what I need. Because you may not be able to reciprocate that for me. And I think as a community, Black, brown, whatever, I think we need to change that narrative, because just like my parents and family has sacrificed for me and my husband to be in these particular situations and have access to this, it shouldn't be where families always expect that you're going to do over and beyond for them because you have those resources, right? There's no way to, like, how are we going to build generational wealth when we in a constant cycle of the next generation does better, and now you're taking care of 2 generations behind you? Like, I'm never going to get to be advanced. I'm never going to get there because I'm constantly giving back and taking care of 2 and 3 generations behind me. So how do we break that cycle and that expectation, I think? And of course, everybody wants to pay homage to their family. You want to help, you want to do, you see certain things. People migrate from different countries. So it's a lot of different factors on why psychologically, as Black and brown folks, we do those things. But I think we've got to change that narrative and that expectation. So, for example, my husband and I, we are very firm that we want to put ourselves in the best financial situation so that when our kids are my age, I don't have to ask my kids for anything.
Wow.
I don't want them to expect that they've got to take care of me. Why? Because we've set ourselves up so that those things can take care of themselves. Because I think that's where we set the expectation that you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And that's not the case.
Right.
So
Yep. And then my answer to your question is why there's maybe some uncomfort around talking about financings around our dinner table would be that a lot of times when people don't feel that they've established or amassed to a level that maybe they would have liked to, or, they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like that they're qualified to talk about it, and so I think they sort of shun away from it because a lot of people, that's just what I think, and I'm like, you have to give yourself grace on that. And we just continue to learn, because if you still talk and you listen, you absorb nuggets, and then you apply it, you will get there, because Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was in his 60s, right? But I think that's a lot of times. So people are uncomfortable because they may not be where they are at financially, so they don't feel comfortable that they can talk about it. So they rather switch the conversation back to basketball, or whatever. But I challenge that. However, it's like Dee says, now sometimes I have to challenge it in a sense of love, because then people be looking at, just because you have this, you don't want to make it seem like I'm throwing it in your face. But now I do have a rule when it comes to loaning money with family. I don't ever loan money to family. If I don't have it to bless you, it's going to be no.
That's good.
That's no, because the last thing I want is to be sitting at the family reunion and you got a new sweater on, which you should have. You have a right to have it. And I'm thinking that you could have paid me with that, right? So that's my thing. So the thing about it is, if I don't have it to give you now, if they are there when I'm giving the money and they say this is a loan, I will accept that verbiage. Like, I may not tell them I'm not expecting it. But again, that's my philosophy. If I don't have it that I can bless you with it, or it's going to take away from me, the answer is going to be no.
So good.
But that way, if something happens, and usually it does, with family, and they don't get it back, I don't ever want to be mad at a family member because of money.
Yeah,
I really don't.
And I really want to shift that paradigm of uncomfortable feeling with family, that you should be able to discuss those things. And I think, for me, I just never want, everybody has their own journey in life, right? I may say I want to be a billionaire, but I may be of the 1 or 5% of the world who desires that.
Exactly.
Everybody doesn't want that. They just maybe want to live a comfortable life or a very secure life, whatever that looks like. And it's nothing wrong with that. And I think finances is that one topic, and politics, that oftentimes will spur people in so many different philosophies and directions. So kind of to your point, it's sensitive, but I want to change that paradigm. I want it to be like open, healthy, like you said.
But I
think it doesn't always have
to
be a negative
what
thing.
you just said, Dee, may be a way to start it, because of course, if you were Dee and I, we're the people in our family that absolutely we're going to voice that we definitely want to be billionaires, right? However, we have to make sure that we are saying, but it's okay to whatever level you want. It doesn't mean just because this is what we want, everybody has to want that. It's okay. But whatever, have some level that you want to strive for. And with that, you're going to have some financial literacy to get there, no matter what that level is. But I think that's a great question.
I love that. I think yours was, better or just as good as our question that was emailed to us.
Yes, but we do thank you. Who was that listener, by the way?
That was Miss Barbara.
Thank you, Miss Barbara.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. So on that, remember, if you have any business or leadership questions, please email us at CheeandDee, CheeandDee @gmail.com, and your question may be read in one of our future episodes. Also, I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know we have talked a ton today about financial literacy and building wealth. I also want you to find the Brown group, Asset Group, on their social media platforms as well. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell them where to find you. Find us on all social media platforms, Boomlennial Podcast. And so tell them where to find you.
Mine's is very easy. It's Credit Jocanna. So that's Credit Jocanna, Jocanna, on Instagram.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Mr. MR, get to the number 2, the bag. underscore.
Okay, nice.
Mr. Get to the Bag.
And
I love it.
Literally, it's like an entendre, double entendre, bag, Brown Assets Group.
Okay.
So get to Brown Assets Group.
I'm glad you said that because I was when you sent me your email address and it said BAG, I said, oh, she must have misspelled it because I thought it was bad credit, you know? And I thought that, but I had your business card and I looked and I said, oh, it does say bag. But because I was wondering, why is this bag? Brown Assets Group. Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a typo.
Oh, I got it.
I love it. And see, that was that millennial touch that y'all did.
Right.
The bag.
Yeah.
Get into the bag. Do y'all know what get into the bag means?
Right.
Okay. If not, Google it. Urban Dictionary will tell you about get into the bag. But you want to contact them first so they can help you get to the bag. Okay?
I love it. Well, Dee, this brings us to the end of another exciting episode.
Thank you.
So
No
to
problem.
Jocanna and Darius, thank you all so much
Thank you for having
for
us.
being with us. Did they not equip us with so many nuggets?
Oh my God.
Wasn't it
They're going to have
great?
to run this episode back a few
Yeah,
times.
so please re-listen, and let this be like a family podcast that you listen to together because it is family friendly. So listen to it together, and you'll be surprised. The children will ask you questions, so that'll create some dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So this will make a great time. So, but thank you again to also our viewers that you're watching us. We really appreciate you being with us during this journey. Remember, we drop an episode of the Boomlennial Podcast on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And all we ask is that if this podcast adds any value to you, just please share it with at least 10 of your friends or family members. Okay? Now, please join us next time for our episode entitled Overcoming the Pressure to Impress People.
Until next time, and I'll ask Jocanna to help me with this. What's our motto?
Shine bright and do business right.
Bye-bye.